Okay. Yeah, Rich, can we get to the next slide? I'm just gonna walk you all over the agenda today, what we have lined up for you all. All right, let's go quickly over the agenda for today. So first of all, we would want for our partners to present some of the key COP outcomes from their experiences, what they have seen and felt. So we have people from Gibbon, Yango, WWF, YAM. So yeah, I think having their insights will really help you and help us with our discussion in the breakout room. Yeah, and we have also decided to have a WorldCaf style breakout discussion where we'll be having it under 3 different topics, as you can see here. One is on NBS nature and human right. Another one is from resource mobilization and finance. And another one is equity and power dynamics. So we'll be changing the host and the speaker from the session. So you will stay put and we'll be the one changing. So this is to avoid the mess and also the confusion. Yeah, so we'll all get to hear about different topics. And I hope you guys will have a really, really great discussion in the breakout rooms. Yeah, and we also want to explore how we can really engage leading up to COP30. And finally, we'll wrap up with some reflection and feedback and next step. Okay, next, please. Okay, so for today's session, first of all, here we have with us a speaker who's representing Gibbon. He is Hathor. He is a specialist in the field of ecological economics and has a master in science and technology policy from UNICAN. He has a research and a policy social ecology system focusing on diversity, human rights, and finance. He also works in the design and implementation evaluation of socio-environmental policies and has worked for like 7 years. So he has tons of experiences involving economic incentives and financial solutions to support and help develop product and services to enhance biodiversity and strengthen the sustainable livelihood. And he has been actively advocating at conventions like CBD, UNFCCC, and he's currently a conservation and climate finance specialist is Sitwi, Finance for Good and Policy Co-Coordinator at Global Youth Biodiversity Network, Gibbon. I'm sure you all are familiar with it. Welcome to the session. We're really glad to have you here. And I'm sure you will have a great discussion with everyone today. Thank you so much for joining. And next we have Roa Alobedi. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. She is a medical student and is a passionate climate activist from Sudan. She is an active younger member and has led various leadership role, and she also serves as a contact point for Nature and Eco Working Group in 2023. And in 2024, she was also a policy team member who supported the Global Youth Statement, and she's currently serving as a liaison for like Global Conference of Youth, COP20 in Brazil. And last year, she was also delegate for all the 3 UN CBD, CCD, and UNFCCC delegate. Thank you so much for being here, Roa, today. We're really glad to have you here with us. And it's so great to see that you have joined all the 3 COPs. So I'm sure you will have a lot of things to share with us. And
Thank
finally,
you for the invite and looking forward for the session today.
Yeah, great, thanks. Yeah, and finally, we have with us Nathan. Nathan started his career with WWF Australia in 2009 and has launched its youth empowerment program called Generation Earth in 2010. And in 2022, he took on the role of Global Education and Engagement Coordination and has led the WWF Education Program. in developing global strategy together for Action 2030 that focuses on driving up active global citizenship. Yeah, and it's so great to see Nathan here with us. And you've been engaged with WWF for such a long time. It will be really great to have you here with us, Nathan. Okay, so I think we are gonna move next to our breakout rooms. We'll have each speaker in different breakout rooms, and we'll also have our leads will lead the session. Yeah, as we are preparing to get into the breakout room session. Yeah.
Sorry, I think we're going to get our speakers to present here to everyone, and then
Yeah.
we're going to head to our breakout rooms right after that. Yeah.
Okay.
Busy
Sorry.
agenda with lots of pieces. No worries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I'm sorry about that. I think we're going to start with Heather to share about some of the COP outcomes. Heather, if you're ready, yeah, we'd love to hear more from you.
Hello, everyone. Are you able to see my screen already?
Yes.
Okay, so thank you very much for inviting me and Gibbon to be part of this webinar. It's a pleasure to be here and to share the space with such friendly allies in the space. I'm going to talk a little bit about COP16 youth outcomes. So first of all, I'm here on behalf of the Global Youth Biodiversity Network, Gibbon. Gibbon is the official international platform for mobilizing young people at the Convention on Biological Diversity, the CBD. And we also have different national chapters, over 60 now. That is basically our community that work directly with railroads, and also the place where we collect our main inputs and provide capacity building and other types of training. So everyone is more than welcome to join us. As we have different conventions, also very important to remember. I'm going to talk about Convention on Biological Diversity, CBD. CBD have three main objectives. That is the conservation of biodiversity, the sustainable use of the components of biodiversity, and the fair and equitable sharing of benefits arising out of the utilization of genetic resources. So these are the three main objectives, and basically all the different structures and organizations of the CBD is going to this direction. CBD works with frameworks that usually these frameworks are set to 10 years. At the end of 2022, CBD and the parties agreed at the Common Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework. It has a 2030 mission to halt and reverse biodiversity loss and a 2050 mission to live in harmony with nature. It organized it in 4 goals, 20 targets. It's a very interesting piece to understand how to navigate and how to deal with biodiversity at the global, regional, and local level. So also invite everyone to take a deep look at the GBF. And particular for COP16, COP16 was held in Cali in October and November, Colombia, with the slogan "With Peace with Nature." The slogan is very important. Peace with Nature was framed in 3 different directions. First direction, peace, considering peace with nature in the sense that nature needs to be considered into decision-making process. Peace for those who are directly involved, engaged, and embedded in relationships with nature as indigenous peoples, local communities, and environmental defenders, and also peace with nature in the sense that our economic and financial systems needs to transform to be able to really not only mainstream biodiversity, but make peace with it and transform the way that they work and the way that I want to approach from it. COP16 has a huge agenda. So we had 28 agenda items. I'm not going to talk about all of them, but it's important to remember that was almost a 2 weeks meeting. So we have a broadly of discussions going on. a few key policy outcomes. We can talk later if you are interested in one or another, but basically we have the DSI agenda, the digital sequence information that is related with the target 3 of the convention, the establishment of the Kali Fund. This is a fund for benefit sharing for digital sequence information. So basically those organizations and business that use genetic resources that arise from biodiversity, now they have a voluntary mechanism to be able to return both economic and non-economic incentives for those countries who safeguards these genetic resources, but also for those communities who safeguard. So it's a process that is being established, and now it's in the process to be in development. We also have the approval of the subsidiary body on the Article 8J, that is the specific subsidiary body that will deal with indigenous peoples and local community issues and traditional and local knowledge. So it was a working group previously, and now it is a subsidiary body that occupies a hierarchy higher inside of the structure of the CBD. We also have a decision that recognizes the role of Afro-descendant people as one of the stewards of biodiversity as well. We had a global action plan for biodiversity and health. We have the updated of NEBCEPs that are the NDCs for the CBD. So the commitments that party are doing to be able to go on the convention, and also synergies on climate and biodiversity. I will really short focus on 2 of them, and I think we'll guide our discussions on these. First, resource mobilization. Resource mobilization, we have 3 main points. That is the resource mobilization strategy, basically trying to align the whole discussions of finance with the new GBF. More or less, it's a good strategy for now. We lost a few things regarding human rights and the reclamation for socio-environmental safeguards, but in general, most of our concerns in the directly reference for indigenous peoples, local communities, women and youth, there are out there. Quite discussion on the new financial mechanism. As you know, this was the reason that the COP16 was not finalized. So we have a huge dispute among developed countries and developing countries. Developing countries are not so much in favor of a new financial mechanism. They argue about no fiscal space, or that we already have current mechanisms that would be able to deliver finance for the whole world. And at the same time, we have the opposite from developing countries who is arguing that the current financial mechanisms are not being able to deal with their demands. They are not processes that represent their own voices. They are not processes that considering developing countries and also our grassroots movements in decision making. And finally, we have the agenda that is particularly looking for the GEF, the Global Environmental Facility, and the Global Biodiversity Framework Fund that is in the umbrella of the GEF. And here the main point is discussing this reform of the GEF and how to figure out new opportunities, both for allocating financial resources for those on the ground, but also to improve engagement in decision-making process for developing countries, but also for all our indigenous local communities, women and youth. Biodiversity and climate change are the next agenda, directly in dialogue with COP29 and on the road to COP30. So it's important that on this agenda, they recognize corporations and synergies between climate actions and biodiversity. They also included a huge paragraph on socio-environmental safeguards for actions, for climate actions that are related to biodiversity, including mentions to Section C of the framework, that is the ones related with human rights, Target 22, that is regarding the effective participation and engagement of indigenous peoples, local communities, women and youth, and also the free, prior, and informed consent for all climate actions that will be held in territories. Intergenerational equity is also mentioned, and a very, very important and interesting thing is that CBD have opened a call to receive submissions from parties, but also observers and all stakeholders to visions to enhance policy coherence between Rio conventions. So the 3 Rio conventions, UNFCCC, CBD, UNCCD, will have an open call. Given will very soon launch a a form and a consultation process to also provide youth inputs on this. So keep connected with us. Already closing, we have also, of course, a few disappointments, lacking of the compromise of developing countries with the resource mobilization, barriers to reform the GF, weakening language on equity, human rights, children, and other aspects. And of course, the strongest presence so far of private sector and lobbyists regarding corporate capture and greenwashing into this process. Next week, we are going to have the resumed session that will be held in Rome from 25 to 27 of February. The main agendas is those that was not adopted as the resource mobilization, financial mechanism, planning, monitoring, reporting, and review. That is the agenda regarding the indicators for the GBF. Sorry, it was very rushed, but here's the information. I hope you were able to catch. I'm glad to be here for the World Cafe and Sport, but you can check our materials, both our youth priorities developed for the COP and also the youth outcomes report for the CBD. That's it over on my side. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Heather, for sharing everything, especially the last thing where you have like shared about how you have guys collected and how we can go through it. Sorry. And I really loved your slides, by the way. Thank you so much for putting so much of effort. And I think during this COP16, when I was like hearing the news, I felt like it was such a huge win for us to have traditional sequence and also digital sequencing. I think we are really getting somewhere with this innovation. And thank you so much for sharing. Next we have with us Roa. She is representing Yongo today. She is a medical student and also climate activist, and I'm really eager to hear what she has to share with us.
I'm audible. I'm audible now. Sorry. Okay, sorry. Struggling with microphone.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, now I'm audible.
Yes, we can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. Three COPs and got perspective from the CBD, from the UNFCCC, and also from the UNCCD. Last COP was here in Saudi Arabia. So I'm going to represent my perspective from UNFCCC COP, which was in Baku. First, I'm here representing Yango. Yango is the official children and youth constituency to the UNFCCC. We are the mechanism to ensure the voices of children and youth people in the UN climate change space. And Yango represented to the United Nations Climate Convention, but it's also working throughout the year to ensure voices of children and youth are present in this discussion. Our vision and mission in Yango to learn, community, discuss with politicians, healthy planet and humanity, powerful children and youth. We have a very long history, started from Rio Earth Summit in 1992, then till 2005 in Montreal Conference of Parties, then 2009, and lastly the constituency was confirmed in 2011, and we are officially announced in 2011. And working from that, having Global Conference of Youth, we have the Global Youth Statement and different activities. In Yango, we have around 16 working groups. And also we are organizing the LCOI, the Local Conference of Youth. Last year we have 165 LCOI, and also we have the Regional Conference of Youth. Last year we have 6 Regional Conference and Youth, and also the Global Conference of Youth, which was in Baku, and this year it will be in Brazil. Okay, so going to the COP29 outcomes. I'm just trying to highlight some of the main outcome. Like in the convention in the UNFCCC, we have so many agenda, but I just wrote down the main agenda, which was the highest topic during the negotiation. Here, our team, Yango in Baku, and this photo was taken in the Youth Day. Okay, so the first agenda regarding the finance, which now called the new collective quantitative goal in climate finance, um, like the word is saying it was promising, but unfortunately everyone was so disappointed, especially those from the LDC and from small island. The party agreed on the triple finance to developing country from the previous goal of 100 billion USA to 300 billion annually by 2035. The effort of all actors to work together to scale up finance to developing country from public and private sector to the amount of 1.3 trillion per year by 2035. But still, the negotiation is going, and we are expecting that the outcome from COP30 will be more promising in terms of finance. Then, for the adaptation agenda item, the COP decision matter related to the LDCs, the least development country, contain a provision for the establishment of the support program for the implementation of national NAPs for the LDC. Party also extensively discussed the second five-year assessment of progress to formulate the implementation of NAP and will continue in June in 2000 this year. Also, the COP29 launched the Baku Adaptation Roadmap and Baku Highlight Dialogue and Adaptation to enhance the implementation of the UAE framework, released ambition by agreeing to continue unpacking the transformation adaptation moving forward. In the term of adaptation, the negotiation was so promising, and we were so glad to see there is so many improvement happening in the adaptation. Then in the Article 6 of Particle Agreement, there was a progress made on the carbon market. Countries have agreed on the final building block that set out how carbon market will operate under the Paris Agreement, making country-to-country trading and carbon credit mechanism fully operational. COP29 defined missing aspect of the Paris Agreement mechanism, including the authorization of registrar of emission credit. The decision provide clarity on the rule governing international cooperation on climate change mitigation. In terms of Article 6, the conference defined the missing aspect of the Paris Agreement mechanism. Also, there was including of authorization and registration of emission credit. So also we saw there is some improvement happening in Article 6, and the decision provide clarity on the rule governing the international cooperation on climate change mitigation, which was also so promising. Then in terms of transparency climate reporting made by big stride forward in Baku, and it was so like a huge movement, building a stronger advanced base to strengthen climate policies over time. All transparency negotiation items were concluding successfully at Baku, which was a huge step forward. The enhanced transparency framework, reporting tool, and the technical training and the support provided to the developing country for reporting under the enhanced transparency framework, and the successful launch of review process. So the party who were negotiating the transparency, they did a huge work, and everything like the work from the previous negotiation were concluded, and now we are starting the term of implementation. It was also so promising in the term of transparency. Lastly, gender and climate change are one of the negotiating items in the UNFCCC, and the country agree a decision on gender and climate change, extending the enhanced Lima work program on gender on climate change for another 10 years, reframing the importance of gender equality and advanced gender mainstream throughout the convention. They also agreed to develop a new gender action plan for adaptation implementation at COP30, which will set the direction for the concrete implementation. And also, it was so promising to see that the gender negotiation is still moving forward, and also the party that agreeing that we are going to enhance the Lima work program for more 10 years. So that was so promising. Lastly, for the Loss and Damage Fund, there was a progress made on the Loss and Damage Fund, focusing on turning pledge into tangible contribution. The fund will aim to support the developing countries, the small island, and to addressing the loss and damage associated with the impact of climate change. So maybe some people, when they read the outcome of COP29, they say, yeah, it was so amazing outcome. But unfortunately, most of us, the youth and the party from the least developed country, from the small island, were so disappointing. And COP29 was a call of action for the world most vulnerable nation. One of the things that we're going to fight this year in COP30, first, to ensuring timely and adequate climate finance, followed to the least development country and the LLDC, and also the small island. Also, we are asking for enhancing the support for adaptation, particularly through the public grant and highly consortium means. Also, we are asking for full, and we are calling for full and effective operationalization of the Loss and Damage Fund. Yeah, there was a progress made in the Loss and Damage Fund, but unfortunately, we want to see more effective operation. Also, empowering the LDC and the small island to fully participate in the Article 6 market mechanism, and supporting sustainable energy transition aligned with the global climate goals. So yeah, those is some of the call of action we have at the youth, and we are still fighting for COP30. Just I'm sharing, this is one of our photo from last year with the COP presidency, and we are still fighting. If anyone want to participate in the activity that we are doing, you feel free to join the local conference of youth in your country, and also the global conference of youth, which will happen in Brazil. And we're expecting to see more of you in COP30 in Brazil. And thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Roa, for summing everything up so well, and also for everything that Yongo does. For anyone who's like really confused on how to navigate COP spaces, I think Yongo is your go-to space. Yeah, and thank you so much for being here today and sharing everything with us. Next, we have with us Nathan, who's been engaged with WWF for such a long time and who's doing amazing work in the field of conservation. So we'd love to hear more from Nathan on, and also about the COP and what WWF has planned. Over to you, Nathan.
Great. Hi, everyone. Can you hear me okay? Thumbs up? All right, excellent. Well, thank you for the invitation. It's great to see some familiar faces and to be joining the Youth for Nature teams, as well as Yungo and Gibbon. It's like coming back to old friends. Well, I can tell you that Heiter and Roa did the heavy lifting. I get to do the fun stuff. I'm going to tell you, it's not going to be as heavy with all the information because they really covered it so well. But I think, I think as we look at the current state of affairs, the geopolitical situation, we've got some big curves ahead. So it's not just COP30 as well. And I'd like to bring you into that journey with us. But first, I'd like to do a little interactive thing. So you're going to have to get your hands ready, because I'm going to ask you a couple of questions, because I need to see how much experience you have to know who's here. So first of all, how many of you have actually attended a hands up? So if you've attended a hands up, give me a hands up signal. So if you're gonna speak, so we can see, or you can raise your hand. You can turn your thing on. Okay, I see a couple of hands. We got 3 people that have been there, 4 people that have been there, 5 people that have been there. All right, so not a huge number. We got some people. There we go. A couple more jumping in there. All right. So we got about, looks like a handful of people that have been there. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. Also, on a question of what you just heard from those 2 presenters, the first presenters were incredible. It went super deep, but I'm just curious, how well do you feel like you understand the global UN processes, like the COPs, the climate biodiversity desertification? Give me a symbol if you feel like you're a pro, and which obviously Heiter and Roa are definitely pros. Give me a heart. If you feel like you're fairly well informed, give me some clapping. And if you're just getting started, give me a thumbs up. All right, see some clapping. There we go. Some thumbs up. All right, got some hearts. We got so Zena's a pro out there. We got a lot of clapping. Got some thumbs up though. So we got a pretty good mix of people. All right, perfect. Thank you for that. Just good to know who I'm talking to. And I've got to make straight off the bat a disclaimer that I am not a policy person. So like half of the stuff that they just talked about, I did not understand. I come from a background of education and youth work, and that's really my background. So we're going to take it a little bit easier here. But what I can say is I did attend COP16. I get to meet and work with some amazing people. So here you can see the team of Gibbon. And in the back here, you can see that that's the little guy on the stage. That's actually me. I was involved in helping out with the education day at the Nature Positive, or at the GBF Pavilion. So we brought together youth, we brought together education professionals, and we sat them down in a room. We talked about the idea of creating a global plan of action for biodiversity education. And that was one of the things that actually was positive that came out of the decisions from COP16, was that that's something that they should be developing in the next year. And Gibbon's also part of that process. But I also got to work with some of the great, amazing folks who are also on this call from Youth for Nature. And we co-developed a side session that looked at successful ways that countries are involving youth and education in their national biodiversity action plans, right? The official term is the MBSAP. It sounds so sexy. But so we were trying to say, you should be engaging youth, should be involving education, and which countries have already started to do that. So that was quite an exciting time. But I just want to give you a couple of words on my experience. I know this is very different than what you just heard, but what I found it to be is, well, first of all, it was extremely hot. And they use the word Cali for a reason, because it's the word for hot. It was very hot in Cali. And it was quite intense, and also, I would say, some confusing at times, because if you've never been to a COP, it's almost hard to understand. It's like being in a completely different world. It's like a different universe. Like all of a sudden, there's so much going on at the same time. And I think that if you've never been to a COP before, it's really important that you start as early as possible to understand what's going to happen there. Because if you don't, then things are just going to go by and you're not going to know it. And of course, part of it's just like showing up and seeing how things actually work. But you've got to know that there's going to be an area where there's policy discussions going on, but then there's going to be this whole area around that that's going to be focused on side meetings, as well as making connections and networking and partnerships. And for me, it's also a little bit of that who's who. So it's a way to obviously get your name out there. It's also, for us as WF, was really important to make connections with other organizations like Youth for Nature, like Gibbon, like Ann. So, and I think what's also really important is, while, I mean, this is my personal opinion, but while these global meetings are super important, I think it's just really part of the process, because so much of the work happens back home. And I think especially in the times where we're moving towards isolationism, nationalism, we've got to focus on also like pushing our country leaders to make a difference, right? Because they might not be as focused on the global agreements, right? So how do we push our countries to continue to move forward on climate agreements and biodiversity? Okay, so from a WF perspective, yes, COP16, there you can see was some successes, but there are ends in disappointment. And I think this is what you just heard from Heiter. And I thought this quote was quite funny, or quite interesting. So Bernadette Hooper said that following the negotiations on biodiversity finance was about as enjoyable as a root canal. So I think that can tell you like a little bit about how it actually was on the ground. So of course, WF came in with a lot of big asks, a lot of high expectations. And in the end, you can see that at the beginning, this was the celebration at COP15, and this is what it looked like at COP16. So you can tell that the atmosphere there was not quite as joyful or joyous, because while there were a lot of ambitious things that happened at COP15, yeah, we heard that COP16, as you can see, a lot of stuff was left open. The monitoring framework, global review, mobilization of finances. And like you also heard from Heiter, though, these things are going to be coming up in COP16 2.0. So it just got so exciting, they had to extend it to Rome, which is going to be taking place next week. So there's obviously a lot of things that are left hanging in there. I was not at COP29, so I really can't tell you much about that. But from a WF perspective, what we're excited about is that the focus on and interest on nature and biodiversity is rising. So we see that coming up time and time again now, which is a win for us. And obviously, like, I think what we have to realize is that, you know, the more we get into it, the more these topics, which are so interconnected, climate and biodiversity, are super complicated. And obviously it takes time and it's a messy process. This is democracy at its best or at its worst. And all of these decisions take a lot of time. And I think, though, what I, again, started off with is that as important as this global level work is, making sure that you get active locally from your community to your national level, which is obviously much more tangible and what you can see, is where the rubber hits the road. You know, and especially, as I said, given the current political climate, I think that this is where I would just encourage us to all really focus on as well. What can we do in our own backyards? Yeah, I'm not sure we want to see this guy, but in the age of Trumpism, I think working together in collaboration and collective actions and synergies is so critical. So my questions, more than statements, are: how can youth be effective leaders and advocates in the current geopolitical state of play? What is your role there? What can we do? You're more connected and more aware than any other generation. So this is a huge advantage for you. Secondly, I think that as we're facing stronger and stronger, opponents, where are these opportunities for developing these strong partnerships and coalitions? Like just what's happening here, to see Yungo, Gibbon, Youth for Nature coming together. It's so critical. Looking to work with other NGOs, whether development organizations, environment organizations, faith-based organizations, industry as well. Obviously, we have to be careful, but it's also a strong partner. Indigenous peoples, rural and urban communities. Look for these opportunities to create these partnerships and coalitions. Let's not stay alone in our own holes. Obviously, the youth climate movement was a huge political shifter in pre-COVID times, and through the pandemic, obviously things got dampened a little bit. But what could a global youth movement 2.0 look like? What could this look like? And I think one of the other things that we learned is we have to take care of ourselves. We are the most incredible resource out there, and it feels incredibly depressing sometimes. So how do we keep each other going? How do we stay optimistic? How do we support each other in these very, very challenging times? And part of it is having these types of communities, these relationships, these people that you can lean back on, and just get a message from Juliana every once in a while. It's just like, how you doing? It's so nice to see you. And I mean, those things, yeah, they may sound simplistic, but they're so important to just kind of keep on keeping the motivation and the mode going. So I just want to end with a couple of examples really quickly. One is that we just started a project a little bit ago called People Powering Biodiversity. And what I'm excited about is it's really focused on inclusive conservation around the GBF. It's taking place in Papua New Guinea, Vietnam, Tunisia, Tanzania, and the Congo. And it's really focusing on indigenous peoples, women, and youth, making sure that they have a voice in the development of their biodiversity action plans. And so we're working especially with Gibbon on developing a series of capacity building trainings, also setting up intergenerational dialogues. And here's where I see the great opportunity for training WF staff on what is meaningful youth engagement. So how do we bring young people that are involved in this process to sit down with WF staff and actually learn from them? It's not just we're training you, you're training us. And I think that's critical. So look for those opportunities to also bring the training back to the professionals on the ground projects and involvement in decision-making processes. So I just thought that would be kind of a nice way to say there are things that are happening that we may not be aware of, but they are. And last, I just like to do a very quick poll. Well, obviously, WF is very much involved in COP30. We're building up. We've got policy teams. We've got communication staff. We've got conservation teams. And I'm just interested if there would be some people. We're just scoping this out to see what we could offer, how we might offer it. But if you might be interested to connecting with some of WF staff on building up to COP30, what you can do is just send me a message. We'd like to kind of see the scale of kind of interest. If there would be people that are interested, then we're going to start looking at what can we do to connect you with some of our teams. So I can pop my name in the chat as well. But that's basically it. So let's keep it moving. Thank you.
Hey, Nathan, that was great presentation. And some of the stuff that you said were really great. For instance, like how a lot of work happens outside of COP. And I think this is also a way for us to build synergy, partnership, and also inclusion of voice about how we would work towards COP30. And really great presentation. I really loved hearing about it. So as we are preparing for the breakout rooms to dive more into these topics, I quickly want to remind how each of the breakout room is going to work. So we'll be splitting it into 3 breakout rooms, which will each focus on 3 different topics. And the participants will stay put. It will be the facilitator, lead, and the partner who will be moving around. And we have guiding questions to help us think about what we have learned, the similarities across COPs, and how we can build momentum toward COP30. Yeah, so let's just wait till the breakout rooms are set up.
Okay, I'm going to open the breakout rooms and then I'm going to take a second to settle the co-hosts into their rooms. So thanks everyone and enjoy the breakout rooms.
Hi, can I choose human rights and MBS? Thank you. Because they sent me to room 1, but I don't know what's the room 1 topic.
You're going to talk about every topic, don't worry.
Asmita or Rachel, is there any specific room that you want us to join?
Yes, 1 second. I'm just going to get our team in the rooms and then I can send you as well. So hang
Okay.
tight. Yeah.
I would probably to join the room that have less people. So I think it's easier.
Sure. Okay. 1 sec.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh, our team is everywhere.
About the areas where you can get engaged with us. So I'm going to briefly share about what we have been doing at Youth for Nature. So we are working on NBC policy briefs, which will be featuring case studies from our Inuka pilot and our other high impact storytelling microgrants to tell about the successes and the learnings that are happening at the local level. And the another one is storytelling campaign. Most of you must know that storytelling is one of our main pillars, and we have collected over 100 stories to build connections and capacity about what is happening locally and what is happening in high-level decision making. So we would love for you to submit your stories and also participate in a story crafting workshop. We'll share the details with you soon. And we have another pillar that we're working on, which is NBS mobilizing and partnerships. Together with partners, we will update the Global Youth NBS statement and also support other advocacy campaigns related to financing, loss and damage, environment, human rights, and other. So to sum up, what we have is NBS statement, NBS case studies, and storytelling campaign. And if this resonates with you and this is something that you want to engage with, keep tuned and we'd love to include you all and hear what you have to say. Having said that, we'd also want to highlight the amazing work happening across different networks And we have our invited partners from Gibbon, Youngo, WWF. So now we can also hear from them what they have to share about the opportunities and the areas where you can engage with them, with our partners. Is Heather here? Maybe you would want to go first about the opportunities to engage with Gibbon for our youth participants here.
Yes, thank you very much, Asmita. Thank you all. I would share with you to stay connected with Given Networks. This is a year that we are planning to be we call it the CBD intersessional process because CBD COPs happen 2 years. So this is a year that we want to have more engagement and more consultation process with our communities at the road to COP, but also the road to COP17 of the CBD. We want to make sure that demands from young people are being heard and the demands from the local communities that we are in touch are also being heard and being able to be in dialogue in the negotiations process. So yes, for now, I think this is the mainly that it's important for us considering the whole process of consultations and capacity building. So if you are not part of Given community, once more, just we are very, very welcome. And thank you for all youth furniture community. Pleasure to be with you always.
Yeah, thanks for sharing, Hetor. We also have a Youngo representative, and it's the official body of UNFCCC, and there are a lot of areas where you can get engaged with them. I would also welcome Roa to share how they can get engaged with them.
Yeah, thank you so much for the invitation today. I really enjoyed this session. So there is so many area. Maybe I can share with you now. Just 1 hour ago, the form for the volunteer for COP20, the Global Conference of Youth and Children in the UNFCCC process, just opened. So you can find the link in our social media, either Yengo or COP20 Brazil. And also the LCOI now officially been announced. There is 69 approved till now. So go and check if your country been approved for LCOI and help. And if your country haven't yet been approved, find someone and apply to host LCOI in your country. And also there's so many ways to engage through the working group. We have 16 working groups. So you can choose which working group that align with your passion. And also the Global Youth Statement process will start soon. So keep an eye to our social media, Youngo UNFCCC, and also COP20 Brazil. And thank you so much for the invitation today, and have a good day.
Thanks, Roa, for sharing. And I think I'd finally like to invite from the WWF, Nathan. I know you also shared at the end. Maybe you can explain more about what it is and how the youth can get engaged. Nathan?
Oh, sorry, Nathan had to jump off the meeting, but he's sending you all his best wishes, and he's sorry not to be in this last part of the webinar.
Okay, thanks for informing, Jules. I think we also have Anamta from Commonwealth, who is a youth officer. Amanda, I would also like to invite you to share about what you do and if there are like opportunities for like youth to get engaged with you. Yeah.
Hi, thanks, Asmita. Yeah, I would love to. So, like Asmita mentioned, my name is Anamta and I work for the Commonwealth Youth Programme, and we're based in London, but we work with Commonwealth countries across the region. And we have a really active student body and young body that we engage with. We have 13 youth networks that work on a range of policy and thematic areas, climate change being one of them. And the Commonwealth Climate Change Youth Network is one of our most popular and well-established networks. If you would like to join, it's completely voluntary. We've just elected a new executive council, but then we also accept application on a rolling basis. For more information, you can check out our website called Your Commonwealth. I will actually put it in the chat because it has information on all our other networks, our regional networks, and our Commonwealth-wide networks. So that's the best way to learn more about what we do. And that website, like I mentioned, it has all the information about our events, both online and in person at our office in London. And we do try and sponsor our Commonwealth Youth to COP every year. The numbers fluctuate each year depending on our budget, but we are committed to supporting young people actually participate in all the COPs that take place annually. In the Secretariat, we also work on CBD COP, but that's a different team. That's our trade team. But in the youth team, we focus exclusively on UNFCCC COP. So yeah, we're gearing up for COP30, and we will hopefully be there in a sizable delegation with our young people. And at COP29, we did 5 events, and we focus more on skill building, green economy, youth participation, youth engagement, which are core areas for us. So yeah, I'll just send the link to our website in the chat, and I would love to hear from you if you guys have any questions about our programs or anything. Thank you.
I see a hand raised for Saptarshi. Do you want to unmute yourself and speak?
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me. This is Saptarshi Paul from Bangladesh. So I just want to ask a question regarding the storytelling campaign. So how to give my input there? I didn't have the link yet. So will you please enlighten me regarding this? How to participate the storytelling campaign? Would you please tell this?
The link is not live yet, but we'll share it with you soon. We'll also be sharing all the resources with you at the end. So yeah, that's how you can get connected. Yeah.
Oh, okay, thank you. Thank you so much.
If does anyone else have a question? Maybe we can like open up a Q&A if anyone has anything to share. Then we'll head to wrap up. Okay, in the meantime, we also have a small feedback to share what you've learned and also what we can do better next time to lead the session. So please go to the Mentimeter, scan the code given in the screen and share your feedback with us. Yeah, I think it's only gonna take a minute. Okay. Yeah, I think while we head to the wrap up, I just want to thank everyone to the team of Youth for Nature, our speaker, Hetor, Roa, Nathan, and also Amanta for sharing and being part of our session. I think your energy, insights, and the commitment to climate action, I think have inspired us all, and we'll be following up with the recording and the slides in the coming week. So keep an eye on your inbox. We'll definitely hear from us, and let's stay connected and keep the momentum going. Yeah, and I think COP30 is not going to be another conference. It's a place where we can really drive meaningful changes. Is a lot of the youths are doing so. So I really have a lot of hope from COP30. Yeah. And I also want to say thank you to the amazing team of Youth for Nature for pulling this off, and a huge shout out to Rach for being the person behind the scene and doing everything. We really appreciate this. Yeah, Bulimo, you want to share something?
Yeah, I first of all just want to thank everyone for making it to this meeting. I know it was like our first major event of the year, and we are planning to host even more such sessions moving forward, and your input, especially in the feedback form, will help us design even more engaging such webinars. And then another thing was just if we could just get a moment to get a group photo, maybe that would be really awesome just for memory and to build up on that. Thank everyone so much. So if we can just get our cameras on for the group photo, I think that if okay, that would be great.
Yeah, Bulimo, do you want to take the screenshot?
Okay, in a minute.
Okay, I
Right.
see a lot of people. Fine.
Okay. Raj, you could also help me take some more in case I don't get them very correct. Yeah, more people are coming on the camera. Maybe we can give you 2 seconds. Just come on camera and yeah, let's wow.
Yay,
Interesting. You
so
guys
many
are good.
faces.
Why did you hide all the
Love it.
faces? Man? Okay, thank you. Raj, did you manage to get some?
Yes, I'm doing my best.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. Sorry we went over time, but see you guys soon. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, thanks for
Bye.
joining.
Yeah, and also 1 minute,
Yeah.
just I drop in the chat the form for joining Yango for those who ask me how to join Yango. I just drop it in the chat, sorry.
Yeah, that's fine. Thanks, Roa. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks so much, everyone, for joining today.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great contributions, Robert. Thank you.